Hello friends and potential friends, back in the lab for another little update. As you can see, things have changed a little bit in here since the last time I was filming. I still have a number of small seedlings over here, mostly peppers that have been germinating over the last couple of weeks. Basically, I germinate my peppers in the house, and when the seeds start showing roots, I bring them out here and put them in the yogurt cups. And then after a week or two, they wind up in these 6-inch pots, and eventually they get moved outside. Right now, most of what was in here during the last update is out on the patio. We'll take a look at those in a minute. But I've still got red bell peppers. There's a Tabasco. I think that's another Tabasco. A little bit of basil still. I've got a lime basil here. And this one is another lime basil. So I do have some lime basils that are surviving this time. I've been struggling with the basil, and I think a lot of that was my fault because I transplanted a few of them into bigger pots the other day and found that even though they were pretty tiny, they were pretty well root bound. I think I'm letting the basil go too long before I pot them up. But we've got there's a lemon habanero back there, Caribbean orange habanero back in the corner there. And in these pots, these two I happen to know are raised no-heat habaneros. Those are a variety of habanero that has all the flavor of a habanero but doesn't have the spiciness. And I'm looking forward to trying those out. And over here on the far side, I've got some Caribbean orange habaneros, and I believe there's 3 Tabascos in there. And of course, I still have my I guess I'm calling it an 8-year-old basil plant. Still growing good in here. It's about 8 or 10 inches tall. I'm going to probably have to take a cutting off of that pretty soon. And if you've been following the never-ending saga of the Ponderosa lemon, these 7 pots are Ponderosa lemons. I planted 7 seeds, and I've got 7 lemon plants starting up. I just transplanted these a little while ago, and they were getting pretty close to filling up the yogurt cup. But anyway, that's what I've got here inside in the lab. Now, looking around outside, there is most of the peppers that were in the lab during the last update. Still have a couple of tomato plants here. These are the Praxis cherry tomatoes. A few other things you've seen before. Some of last year's lemons, another loquat, rosemary, horseradish, my mulberry that keeps insisting on growing berries, and I keep insisting on taking them off. The pineapple plantation, and of course this year's pineapple. I planted some of the basil out here in this bed. This, I believe, is the cinnamon basil, and over here is the Thai basil next to my datel peppers that are still producing more fruits. Can't see them very well because of the shade, but that's my potato patch. These were just store-bought potatoes that started growing in the kitchen, so I moved them out here, and now I'm letting them grow some more potatoes for me. Back over here, the Roma tomatoes are still doing pretty good. I've been picking a few of those every day, and it looks like there's a few more to pick. Some of them wind up in my salads. Most of them wind up in the freezer. I'm getting close to having enough tomatoes in there to get out the canner. Cilantro is all bolted. Now I'm just waiting for some seeds to come along. A few more tomatoes over here that are still putting on blossoms. Haven't had much fruit off of these ones yet. These are some other Romas. My first 2 rows of lettuce are starting to bolt. I've been getting a salad out of these every day for most of the winter. But they're starting to bolt now, so I've been eating as much as I can before it gets too bitter. And then I have a couple more rows here that I'll be starting to get salads out of before too long. Still have some garlic going, a couple different kinds of kale, And incidentally, I actually harvested a garlic bulb the other day. It was a tiny little thing, but it was actually forming a bulb. First one I've ever gotten a bulb out of. Collards are still growing. They look pretty small because I've been eating salads off of them too all winter. And the mustard, I think you might be able to see, the mustard is starting to bolt. So I'll be getting some seeds out of that before long. That'll be about the third or fourth generation of mustard seeds that I've grown here locally. And these tomatoes, these are the delicious beefsteaks. There are still a few blossoms here and there, but they're, for the most part, they've pretty well played out, which is probably good because that's where I'm gonna have to put my sweet potatoes before long, if I ever get any slips. So far, I'm not seeing any sweet potato slips showing up here, though it looks like I might have a Swiss chard coming up there. And no slips in this one yet. Now, you may hear the rumbling in the background from time to time, because here in the Daytona, this is Saturday, what is it, March 14th, the last official day of Bike Week for 2020. According to the official numbers, we have anywhere from 400,000 to 500,000 bikers in town this week. Now, with everything going on in the world right now, that seems kind of ludicrous, but they're here and they're not leaving until they get their fun in. Yesterday, the city of Daytona canceled all vendor permits for Bike Week. A little bit too late, but they did. I believe we've had 3 deaths in Florida from the bug. We have a number of confirmed cases. And of course, that's going to be going higher and higher as they get tests out. One of my viewers asked me the other day what I'm doing about this pandemic. And I think he was a little bit surprised when I told him nothing. I have not changed my habits one bit. The reason for that is I live in hurricane area. I have to be prepared all the time. Year round, I have at least a 2-month supply of toilet paper, so I don't have to go rushing to the stores trying to buy up all the toilet paper. I've got plenty of food in the pantry, plenty of dry goods in my other storage. Got my garden out here that gives me a little bit here and there. If it became necessary, I could always ramp that up. But for the most part, I don't worry about it. When I retired a few years ago, I pretty much changed my habits and became more of a shut-in. You can call me a hermit if you want. Here's one of last year's lemons. I go out once a week maybe if I need something from the store. I'll go out and buy it. Some weeks I don't leave the house at all. I don't go out on weekends. I figure the people have to work all week, have to hit the stores on weekends, so I leave that to them. But when I started on this journey, probably 7-8 years ago, I started learning how to cook things from scratch, canning, baking. Ooh, that fig's starting to look pretty nice. And so, you know, there's not really anything I have to do to worry about what's going on in the world. Now, understand, I retired from the Volusia County Health Department. I spent 15 years there. All my ex-co-workers are probably pretty busy right now because they're on the front lines of this thing, and I do think about them. But they know what they're doing, been through this before, and they'll go through it again. The key point that I've tried to keep in mind is be prepared, take reasonable precautions, and don't panic. There really is no reason to panic, and panic's not going to do you any good anyway. So anyway, nice sunny day here in Central Florida. I think it's about 82 degrees right now. Nice breeze coming off the river. There goes another bike. I'm right close to a path that a lot of the bikers tend to take. We have this thing called the Loop. It's about a 25-mile ride through the swamps north of town. When I was growing up, we just called it Tomoka Swamp. Now they call it the Loop. And everybody has to ride their bikes up through the Loop at least once. And when they do, they go pretty close to my house. And I get to hear the rumble all night. Get to where I don't even notice it. But anyway, the bottom line is take precautions, do what you need to, protect your families, but don't panic. Panic is not going to serve any purpose at all. And with that, I'll see you on the next one.